This is East Side Cemetery. I am not from this area and I don't have any family here, living or dead, but this is where a number of the prominent in Hutchinson have been buried for many years. The cemetery isn't very far from my house. I kind of like having a cemetery as a neighbor. I have never had a real fear of death in the same way other people seem to. I'm not sure why that is. I was born really late in my parents' lives, and so I grew up going to funerals of great aunts and great uncles and other relatives. And so I don't know if that's how I became more comfortable with it than other people or not. It's not that I'm seeking it by any means, but I don't fear it. My father died when I was 11. My mother died when I was 39. Before I was 45, I had no uncles, aunts, parents, or grandparents left. I have two brothers that are considerably older than me. They were 20 and 21 years old when I was born, and one of them has already passed on. So I have one sibling left, and I have my nephews. Their children are left, and some of my nephews have children. But kind of an odd family situation. But you know, when you're a kid, you just kind of accept whatever your normal is just the normal. You don't really think too much about that. And I don't know how old I was, probably in high school, before I really realized that my family situation was unusual. And I felt sorry for kids who didn't have parents that knew as much as my mom knew, because my mom was older. So, you know, it's all a matter of perspective. But the downside is that when you are born late in your parents' lives, you can spend a lot of time at funerals and cemeteries. And I guess you can say that's a downside. Certainly it leaves you much more alone in the world. But it also gives you a sense of peace about your own mortality. In 2009, I had some health issues, and turned out I'm fine, all is well, but I was diagnosed with an ovarian tumor and did not know whether or not it was cancer, did not know whether or not I would survive, and had surgery. All went well. It was determined to be a, quote, tumor of low malignant potential. It was less than 10% cancer cells, which they consider benign. I was very, very, very fortunate. But during that time period, I had about 3 weeks from diagnosis to the surgery. And people often ask me, oh my gosh, what did you do in those 3 weeks? How did you handle that? What could you possibly do? And what I did was got my affairs in order and gave my friend Greg power of attorney, and gave him the ability to make medical decisions for me, and did a DNR order, and all the things that one has to do at such a time. And now people ask me often if I am changed by the experience and how am I different. And I mean, certainly it makes an impact on you. You can't say otherwise. But I can't say that I'm living any differently these days than I was before, as far as really appreciating life, because I have always had a tremendous appreciation for being well and getting up in the morning and still being able to walk and talk and think and function. And I wake up every morning with a prayer of thanksgiving that all is still well in my world. I feel incredibly blessed. that that is the case. And I can't say that that has changed because of my experiences last year, because I already felt that way. Perhaps that's a benefit of having grown up in a situation where lots of people in your world are more elderly and more likely to be passing on, so that you gain an appreciation for how wonderful it is to be alive. And I've certainly always had that. So in that regard, I certainly feel very, very, very fortunate. Life is fragile. Life is, here, and just a hair's breadth away is death. And it takes very little to cross over. It truly is a thin veil. And as I drive through this cemetery where I have no loved ones, no connections to anyone, I nonetheless know that many of these people didn't anticipate that that last day was going to be their last day. So I try to remember that. And I try to live every day that, wow, this could really be it. I better be careful. This could be it. I better be cautious. I better appreciate this moment. And very fortunate that I have that perspective, I think. Cemeteries have always seemed very peaceful to me, and in some cultures, people go and have picnics in cemeteries, and they think of them much differently than Americans do. We Americans are overall very afraid of death, it seems, which is quite odd, really, considering that we're all going to die. I hope I haven't shocked you by saying so, but we are all going to die. It is an inevitability. And yet we seem so terrified of the prospect. And I'm sure that many of these people had no idea that their last day was going to be their last day. But here they are. And here, or someplace like it, we shall all be one day. So, get out there and live for today. Do something extraordinary. Do something meaningful. Do something to make a memory. Do something kind. But do something. Don't let the opportunity slip away, for you never know. This may well be the last day you have.